about now, starting with Mr. Essien's brief bio. With over 17 years of experience spanning esteemed media institutions such as BBC, Channels Media Group, TVC News, and Bloomberg TV Africa, Mr. Essien is a trailblazer in media and technology innovation. His impressive tenure has been marked by exceptional leadership in innovative storytelling and a track record of driving impactful productions using the Agile project frameworks. As a producer, Essien leads projects on impact storytelling and solution-driven journalism for global news agencies. As a project manager, he brings order where there is chaos and helps projects, including media productions, to deliver high value for stakeholders on schedule and within budgets. A member of the Project Management Institute, PMI, and Essien has used his project and program management skills to administer postgraduate programs at business schools as a program director. Essien is a thinker and a doer with admirably strong work ethics. He has documentaries and theatrical stage plays to his credit. His dedication to solution-driven storytelling on Africa has earned him an Emmy nomination. He is dedicated to mentoring, and shaping future leaders through education. His passion for human capital development is further exemplified through his coaching program, the Instructors Circle Mentorship Program, where he leads a cultivated community of professionals and mentors to empowering exceptionally driven African youths with mentorship and work experience opportunities. Essien is committed to building capacity, confidence, and character in Africa's rising talent, fostering a new generation of visionary thinkers and impactful doers. For over 10 years, he has been building capacity for media professionals in both private and public sector on production planning, and production project management and technical skills. He holds a bachelor's degree in physics from the University of Uyo and an executive master's in marketing and communications from Valencia International University. He is the founder/CEO of Optics and Metrics Media Limited and co-founder of Devlander Technology Network, where they utilize transmedia storytelling techniques and emerging technologies like AI and virtual reality to promote Africa's rich heritage. Wow, what a personality. So, Mr. Essien, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. We are eager to hear from you. We are eager to hear your insights on driving innovation from within, building an entrepreneurial mindset. Please, you can take the floor, sir. She is mute.
All right. Thank you. You can hear me now. It's struggling to unmute. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
you can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Chiamaka, you've already done the introduction, so I no longer think that this page is relevant, right? And just to add to what you have mentioned, the goal of the instructors mentorship program and the cycle is to bridge the gap between academia and industry, and also helping people build communities while also building in communities. And I needed to highlight that, and that is what the instructors mentorship program. In our last cohort that held in 2025, we had these wonderful speakers and mentors who signed up to the program, and also provided mentorship and leadership to the people who are on our cohort. All right, so my name is Intrapreneurial. All that you need to know about me has already been said. So we begin, and I'd like to begin. This class is going to be interactive because that is the only way I will get an immediate feedback to ensure that we are either following or getting something out of it. And I start with asking this question: where does innovation come from? So if you are if you're close to your keypad, can you just drop it in the chat box? And if you want to, voice your response, you can raise your hand so that you can be unmuted. We'll take the next 2 minutes to address that. Where does innovation come from? Are there contributors? Are people dropping in? Waiting for people to just say where innovation comes from. Where does innovation come from? Anybody? Oh, this is surprising. Okay. I wish that we had someone, at least even if it's one person, to help us say where innovation comes from. Maybe Chiamaka, I may have to engage you because this is an exercise that needs a response. Where does innovation come from?
Mr. Joseph on the comment section said innovation often comes from identifying problems or needs, combining existing ideas in new ways, experimenting and tasking calculated risks, collaboration and diverse perspectives, learning from failures. And Antonia said innovation comes from challenges, environments, people's ideology.
Nice. I like the contributions. Innovation comes from identifying problems, and frankly, Gada Joseph has said it in the way that I think as we listen on, it will be captured here, because innovation is just the ability to identify problem and then move resources to solving or finding solutions to the problems being identified. I must use this opportunity to thank the Doshenchi Global Business School for the opportunity given me to speak here. Now, you may have heard during the introduction the difference between the instructor or Idon and the other person is that we are thinkers and doers. We discovered that in our country, we have a lot of people who are given to analyzing problems, the problems of the country, the problem with education, the problem with social sector and everything. But only a very few just move beyond analyzing these problems to sitting down to organize the factors of production to solve the problems in a way that addresses the needs of the society. So once we think innovation, all that it will equip us is the ability to move from just analyzing into doing and finding solutions. So as we move ahead, it is important to understand that for somebody to be called an intrapreneur, and this is also reflected in the topic, you are a person who, let me reduce this. You are a person who acts as an entrepreneur within an established organization, right? And the benefit of being an entrepreneur is that there is a safety net within your organization. For example, if you are considering a professional program, what professional programs help you do? Professional programs could be a master's program, could be a postgraduate, it could be an accelerator or an incubator program, which takes the ideas beyond just concept or construct or theories to what is practical. But you have to be a dreamer who is given to doing. That is what sets you apart. And you will do that while you are serving in an organization. So one of the things I would like to, let me just paint a picture. If we understand how the media works, especially broadcasting, what the broadcast entrepreneur or the media entrepreneur has is he has paid for license. He now has time, 24 hours a day, and the number of hours multiplied by the number of days in a year. And then he hires producers, hires reporters, hires all manner of people. I would tell you that for the first 2-3 months of the organization, they would execute the original ideas of the owner or of the founders of the business. So the question here is that all these programs that you watch on TV or radio, where do you think the programs are coming from? And can we have contributions to that? Where do you think the programs that you watch on TV or that you listen to on radio, where do they come from? I'm hoping that we're going to have comments coming in that regard. All right, so while we're waiting for the comments to drop in, so once a TV or radio station sets up, they hire producers, creatives, thinkers, doers, project managers who sit and identify the needs of the audience that will align with the business goals or the strategic direction of the organization to say, if we call ourselves a media company that is given to urban programming, then it is important that we create programs that align, that addresses the need of urban listeners. For example, the company or the organization has provided a direction, but it is now the duty of the producers to begin the process of creating. And sometimes you see organizations attaching different shows to different individuals. And that's because those individuals have sat through the production process and thought, what can we give our audience? There is a problem, there is a listenership gap, or there is a viewership gap. And we think if we close this gap with this program, it will do the organization a lot of good. And then they go ahead and create the programs. So now, what we must understand is that these things happen within the corporate structure, and a lot of times it does not always come with a yes. That is now what makes you different. So if you are an entrepreneur, you make the decisions by yourself, but you are now prone to failure because you are not working in a structured environment if you are an entrepreneur. But if you are being an entrepreneur within a structured organization, you are now, what now makes your case different is that there will be support systems. That is on one hand, but on the other hand, you'll also have to navigate the politics of the organization to get your approvals done, which is now where it becomes interesting. So somewhere in the late 70s, a man called Pinchot had said that dreamers are the people who take responsibility for innovation. And the concept of entrepreneurship started in the late 70s when there was a white paper on how organizations can solve their own problems by providing the creative latitude for people who are staff to create products or solutions that can advance the bottom line of those institutions. And then in the early 80s, it was now published in business schools. It now also had an academic background before it became mainstream. Okay, so now that we have all of that backing, what would be, we've had the historical and just setting that backdrop. Now, the psychological aspect of innovation. Remember that we had said that it has to be around the entrepreneurial mindset. What are the things that must or that would set you apart as an intrapreneur? You must have some form of self-efficacy. You must be proactive and then have a high degree of risk tolerance, right? Then that you will also be entrepreneurially minded. That means within the organization, you are thinking as a CEO, right? You are thinking as a CEO, so much that the only thing that makes the difference is that nobody allows, you are not allowed, or the situation does not present itself in a way that you now venture out to go and build on your own, right? And then there are safety nets within the organization. And now, the other thing that also defines the psychology of innovation is that your intention must be towards solving problems, solving meaningful problems. And as we move along, we are going to see the processes that help you move from just being a solution identifier, a thinker, a builder, a solution provider, and how you do that within the construct of an established organization. So remember that I said that it is not as easy as it sounds. And I wish that we can have a lot more people dropping comments, because the question I would have loved to ask is, have you ever tried to suggest an idea in your organization and you were met by no, an outright no, or some politicking that tended to move or sway you out of building or advancing with that idea? So if it is a yes, you may just want to share your experience. If it is sensitive, you may not have to speak. You can actually just drop the comment in the session, and Chemaka may have to bring that to my notice. So now, in navigating the corporate maze, a man called Kanter had defined some frameworks that, and this aligns with what Joseph had said, you identify a problem by actively listening for opportunities. Please underline the word for. You're not listening to opportunities, you are listening for opportunities. That means by actively listening, your intention for listening is to be sure that you can spot opportunities. I used to tell people in the other classes that I take that empathy sits at the foundation or at the core of problem solving. Because a man called Ravi Zacharias had said that you can never lighten any load until you feel the pressure on the inside. You cannot, if you do not know what it means to lack drinking or clean drinking water, you may not be moved to provide clean drinking water or any solution that leads in that direction. So if you are attempting to navigate the maze, the intricacies of the corporate structure, you must listen within your organizations and outside of your organization for opportunities that could be useful for you to build a solution or provide some form of framework that will lead to that solution. And then the next thing is about building collaborations across departments, build collaborations across industries, build collaborations even all the way up. So you need to carry along your line manager, your subordinates, you need to carry along your contemporaries. And then if you use the metrics of the power interest metrics, who is someone powerful in your organization with a high level of influence, but has low level of interest in whatever you're doing, then there is a metrics for managing those kind of relationships. So you have to build coalition across different strata of your organization. And then when all of that is done, you mobilize towards delivering the promises. Remember, when you have identified the problem, by actively listening and building a coalition with relationships with a couple of other people that are instrumental to delivering your solution. In that process, there is a series of promises that you have made, whether to the end user who would benefit from the solution. And in cases, these solutions could be a project, a new product line, or a service. So because services are intended to deliver value proposed, then you now have to mobilize resources to deliver these promises. Okay, so now there are now cases, and this is not, we are not discussing textbook knowledge here because there are evidences. Sony Startup Accelerator Program actually started as a result of repeated resistance to innovation within that organization until the company discovered that instead of resisting innovation as it would occur, then they now need to build a corporate safety net for innovation to thrive. Products like PlayStation, that could be one of our favorites if you are a player. I actually started with an idea that was initially rejected by the Sony management. Then afterwards, we started setting up a structural enabler for innovation to thrive. And by doing so, they provided a structured path from idea seeding to production of these ideas, or what we call ideation, in such a way that it reduces the margin of error, right? Using risk management methodologies or processes. And as a result, the impact on the market has been the AeroSense, the 360 reality audio, which has reinforced Sony's global tech leadership within the technology ecosystem. So that is one aspect of the global case study, as it were. The second one would be what we now know as Google, right? Google has a program that allows their members of staff to use 20% of their time. And remember that time is a management resource, to use 20% of their time to build what we call in Nigerian parlance side hustle, right? But in Google, so a product like the 1 GB storage, the AdSense, have actually been the projects of staff members that they were building using their private time. But because the organization now understands that it must provide a room or some enabling environment, for a lack of a better word, for staff members to build, to be free, to think, to ideate, and bring solutions. And now Google is the better for it. So these are global case studies. The freedom that has some level of structure. It started as the 20% project within Google, but right now it is now called Area 120, which is the Google's internal accelerator program for staff members who are building out solutions. And sometimes these solutions end up being acquired by the parent company itself, or even maybe being sold to external bodies who have a need that is greater than the parent company. Either way, the company still wins. because time as a management resource was used and the company had provided those leverage for staff members to use that time to build whatever they are building. Okay, so just by way of catching up, I want to be sure that we are all following. Does anybody have questions so far? I can pause to take questions, or if you have a comment, if the examples given resonates with you, it is my way of just doing the check to be sure that we are following and we are catching up nicely. Any question or comments? If there is no question or comment, just type in the comment section. I want to be sure that we are all following, that we separate this from preaching. All right. I will still be waiting for the comments or questions. So now, in the Nigerian case study, banks like GT Bank, led by Wema, we've seen cases where they had to disrupt themselves before external disruption, comes to them. And we have also seen, by doing so, how far these financial institutions have, come in serving customer and the customer needs. So these are cases where we see that innovation does not always need to start from way up there. There is a design company called Intuit that sets aside a good number of time and structures to allow staff members to build, think, innovate, fail fast, and continue building,
30
right?
people.
Say that again. Okay. No comments. All right. Thank you, Mabong. Thank you, Joseph. All right. So as I continue, there's also an example of a company that we know, InterSwitch, that we know, that had exposure to what was happening in Scotland using ATM, and then he came back to build. He had the initial opposition, but he eventually still went ahead. Although his idea was not bought by the company, but today we now know what InterSwitch has become. We have Quick Teller as a product, one of the products of InterSwitch. We have our birth cards as one of the products of InterSwitch. So these are the case studies within the Nigerian system. We've treated a global case study. We've also treated the Nigeria case study. So as we make progress with this speech, what's the methodology for building out your solution or your idea, if you have one, within your organization? There is a framework called the design thinking framework, where you begin from identifying it actually starts with empathy. You have to be empathetic enough to identify the problem. After identifying the problem, you define the problem. When you define the problem, you go ahead to refine, which is where the first step here comes in. Refine the idea and then ideate that solution, maybe on paper, build a prototype, an MVP. Because this is happening within a structured environment, I keep repeating the corporate safety net. That is the cushion that you have, which all even makes me to ask, if we have all of this within our work environment, what is preventing us from innovating and innovating as fast as possible, right? But it also leads me to the same answer. The answer is that I do not think that we have enough organizations who are open enough to allow their members of staff to think innovation. My lecture today will end with some proposals as and employees and employers can work together to lead and think innovation. So innovation is really just about finding different creative but practical solutions to any problem that we find within a space. And it must be done in a way that, one, it solves the problem of the user or the customer, and in a way that captures value, because if it delivers value to the customer must be able to pay for that solution, right? So when you refine the idea after identifying the customer itch or pain point, then you build an MVP, fail fast, and iterate along the process. Then you can go ahead and validate. There are processes of validating without spending so much. If you are to validate an idea, is different from validating a feature, because a feature, if you say the customers want to be able to point their fingers to the door and the door will open, validate that at the place of product development, can validate the technology, can validate the entire idea by going ahead to install that door, asking customers or users to come and use it, and it solves their problem. They pay for it. Those are the ways to validate the idea. And all of this feed into developing and building that mindset, as it were. So now, I said earlier that it is not always rosy. It is not always easy. There will be some form of resistance, what we call the corporate inertia. How do you overcome these kinds of inertia? I would dare to ask, how have you done this? If you have ever tried to solve a problem in your organization, and then you had some restrictions, all to the point that you even abandoned the idea, right? If you had overcome those kind of challenges, then I would like to hear what your experiences were. But in overcoming corporate inertia, you need to have a sponsor. So if you have an idea, find a sponsor within the organization, someone who would speak on your behalf in the rooms that you are not inside, right? You need to find that sponsor. The next thing is to apply discretion. And in negotiating for whether it's a first-time contract or anything in between, you need to be able to ask for the license to explore your creative latitude in order for the ideas that you have to be brought to life, right? And then you also need to negotiate for time. Do not be, caught up in, there is a politics of time management within organizations where you are in between delivering your core work that you are actually paid for and doing your side hustle. But if an organization provides the framework for these kind of things to happen, then it now becomes a lot easier for innovation to thrive. So now, as we begin to wind down, the question now is, how does being involved in an academic exercise help you reach these kind of goals? One thing that I know that a professional master program helps you, it builds a network around you, is for career growth, but it also surrounds you with people who are thinking solution, innovation at this stage in your career. Because chances are that when you were in your BSc and O-level and any other master's program or any other program or postgraduate program, what was before you then was to really just get the certificate and launch forth into the job market without really preparing for employability. Now that you are already in the market, you've gotten the job, you have also been able to, to do one or two things and now seeking extra levels of certification, you must be valuable in the company based on the things you help the company do, the problems you help your company to solve, which is now what professional master's programs or master's program, as it were, would help you achieve. When you pass through a master's program, whether it is academic or it is professional or vocational, what it does, it makes you a master, right? And for you to be a master, if you date back to the stone carving age where you have the mason, for someone to be called a master, he has really mastered to do stuff. So that's really just that analogy. The master program, because there are labs where you can prototype your idea, you can achieve a whole lot, then it now becomes a lot more useful. So now, what should organizations and employees do? Now that we know that for that entrepreneurial mindset to really find its roots and grow, there has to be responsibility on both sides. What should organizations do? The organization should design the soil, right? Make it fertile for innovation to thrive, provide the structure and funding, and also make available time, support structures that no one person will consider himself a loner within an organization in order to innovate within that organization. There has to be people, support structures who are put aside to always think and innovate wherever there is a challenge, and there has to be really just that structure. Then also reward. For example, can the person who championed this idea be made the VP of that product when it eventually launches, up to the point that the product becomes a new company of its own that is owned by the parent company? These are really just the reward systems and structures that can be put in place. Then for the employee, what must you do? You must think ownership. Think that wherever you find yourself, that is your field to cultivate. And then you must cultivate that field in a way that it is profitable to you. It also flourishes the environment, that more people can join you in cultivating the same environment. Then you build credibility by delivering on small promises and celebrating big wins. You have to persist strategically, because getting a no on one project does not also mean that you get a no when you ask the same person the next time. So you need to understand how to persist and be persuasive. And lastly, I dare say that innovation is not a talent. It is a learned skill. The reason accelerator programs exist is to be sure that there are environments that support innovation to thrive. So you have within an innovation ecosystem. And that word ecosystem is really just where things are supported to grow, interconnected. You have, in one ecosystem, you can have a builder, you have an innovator, you have an inventor, you have a specialist, you have the funder, you have a financier, you even have an engineer. Because when you have that idea, the next thing will be how to try different technologies that will help you build out, right? So you have to let that skills that you must learn, and which I think that putting yourself in an environment where these are taught systematically will make you the hero. And I'm hoping that by the time you complete the different programs that you are eyeing or vying for, then you will return a hero in your different companies, because actually not everybody will be an entrepreneur. You may not be able to venture out on your own because the risks are higher anywhere outside. but you can still be an intrapreneur when you learn certain skills and apply them within your industry. So on this note, I thank you for listening. I would give it back to Chiamaka. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Essien. That was quite insightful. It was very brief and insightful. Thank you so much. And I believe our students have learned so much and they would have questions to ask. So right about now, if you have any question or you have any comments, you could actually raise up your hands or you could make use of the comment section. And of course, we are here to take your questions and your comments as well. Do we have any questions? Thank you, Adeyinka, for the clap. That's quite encouraging. Thank you so much, Dr. Stevens. Thank you, everyone. So we don't have any question. Awesome presentation.
Yes, mine is not like a question per se. My name is Joseph Agada.
Okay.
So my own uh, I don't know if I come to call it. I'm going to call it a questions, but yes, I think it should be a questions that our speaker will highlight. The innovative idea. We learned about innovative ideas, innovations, how we can bring the innovations to organizations, experience, or challenges, witness some challenges, and provide solution, the best solutions that bring value to our organizations. Now, can we also apply this because our discussions is more or less targeting the entrepreneur. I want us to look at the public, I mean a public sector, maybe probably like the government institutions where some of the idea, when you provide some of the idea, it passed through a lot of bureaucracy, and at the end of the day, it might not be, incorporated, or probably it are not going to be accepted in that organization because of one policy or the other, because of one bureaucracy or the other. And as such, if such a thing persists, some of the people that have that zeal, have some of the brilliant visions and idea of how they can contain some of the work fatigue or some of the issues that affect their burnout in the job and all that. The simplest way you could bring an idea, because of bureaucracy, all manner of politics within an organization, especially in the public sector. How do we handle that? What are the best way to approach, or what are the systematic way we can approach to see that we have some ease of working within the public sector? I want to give an example of one of the, it's not public anyway, it's private, but it's a global, and I want to look at it as an international school where you up to date, they don't accept a mobile transfer payment of any kind. You need to go to the bank, collect teller, fill the teller, and come back and submit. If the teller, by prevention, the teller, you misplace the teller, you need to pay extra fine, and you go back to the bank. Even while you are going back to bank to get a duplicate, you need to pay a fine. Such a rigorous, policy or system of running a business. How do we discourage that? How would this kind of sector be able to appreciate, or will we be able to have that mindset of having appreciate the innovative ideas of doing business? Sorry, my coach. I don't know if what my questions I have raised it makes any sense to you.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you for the question. So I think this goes to the fact that innovation should be taught from the cradle, right? I do not think that we can change an entire system that took the last 50 to 70 years to build in one day with one, fell swoop innovation. So if we are to change that systematically, we must teach innovation from the cradle. That's one from the input side of things. Then again, if it is policy that is an impediment, then we must find our way to influence the policy, how be it. We must influence that policy. So remember that having that corporate buy-in is important, right? So, and then the next thing is that when you have a corporate buy-in, the sponsor may be your line manager, the director in the ministry, or it could be somebody above him. So when you innovate within your space, let the people who are sponsors also have the buy-in and be able to push for you. But if it is about systematic change, then we have to teach innovation from the cradle, so much that the generation that will bring about this change will understand that from the moment they find themselves in certain circles, that they have to start influencing decisions that are innovative. So that's what I think should happen. Professor Humphrey?
Yes, good afternoon all. And
Thank
you, SN, for this insightful presentation. Innovation is always a topic that spurs curiosity and a lot of questions, and is an endless, topic when it comes to exploring the different areas of discussion. And what Dr. Joseph Agada raised is very, very crucial for us in Nigeria, because when we now talk about innovation, like you explained, it's a language that is universal, is a universal language. So innovation can occur in different cultures, Nigeria, Thailand, Asia, America. It is the same language. However, its implementation becomes a problem depending on the cultural environment the innovation is being adopted or considered. And Nigeria is a particular one. So I know the angle Dr. Joseph is coming from. It's easy, all these things you have said, to be implemented in a private sector, in individual businesses. But in a system where innovation, because like I said, innovation is a universal language. Innovation checks corruption. Innovation checks leakages. Innovation saves costs. There is a lot. It makes operations to be easier, seamless, faster. But in a corrupt system, innovation becomes a threat. Do you understand? It becomes a threat. So coming to the Nigerian environment, it will be a little bit of challenge in probably some, will I call it, maybe ministries or government agencies to be adopting innovation, depending on how it will affect the old and tradition that has been there in terms of corruption. I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of talking about corruption because it affects everybody. So in other countries, for instance, Italy, where I studied, employees inside, whether it's a private sector or is a public sector, when they discover a gap, and ideate and bring new ideas, innovative ideas that can enhance services. All right, government supports it. Sometimes government can even support that innovator to have an agency of his or her own to run separately, all right, but becomes a partner to the government in discharging that service. And that's why in most of the social services programs in Europe and other countries, you see NGOs. Some of those, the people that form those NGOs, we are public servants. So they see that gap. They register their NGO to take care of that gap. In entrepreneurship, we call such people intrapreneurs. Intrapreneurs. These are people who are entrepreneur in organizations founded by another entrepreneur. All right. So in the government sector, where the system allows innovation, this kind of situation comes up where more entrepreneurs are created from intrapreneurs inside an organization. You see businesses, you see consulting services and all of that, springing up, and the economy continues to grow. But in a system where these things are not, innovation is a threat, it becomes difficult. And for us here, everything starts from leadership. Everything starts from leadership. So this is my own comment. I'm not answering your question, but I'm also raising another, aspect of what the question you have raised and the comment you have made, another angle to it. And I believe that some other people may have one or two things to add. Maybe there is a solution. There is a solution irrespective, but I've not seen it yet. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think maybe before Dr. Joseph comes back to say if his question has been answered, but I also think that it is actually the corruption which is the pain for us operating in Nigeria that has led to us seeing a lot of innovation around fintech and payment solutions, right? So we've seen innovation happening around, maybe on the around those institutions. I guarantee that it would just be a stroke of a change in policy, right? That the organization cited in that example of the question would start taking or accepting transferred payments, right? So innovation is happening, right? But it's only not just happening in corrupt institutions. And I agree with you, Prof, that innovation solves the problem of corruption. Totally.
Thank you, my coach. Your presentations today was just a wonderful one. And I want to thank Prof for answering those questions. It's just that I was just trying to be diplomatic in addressing such situations, because I was actually in that institutions that I mentioned of. I'll bring one or two things for them. And just like I said, some of the private institutions, they see innovations as a threat to some of the system, maybe because of the technical know-how or because of the adaptability. I don't know, but some of them find it difficult to see that to adapt into a new system, adapt into some ease of doing business. Some people look at it as well as a threat to whatever things that they believed on. And then in the public sector, we know, especially in our government institution, it's one of the difficult things. If we talk about the police reforms, the IPPI that they have introduced, we know how it took that, even up to now, it has not been harnessed. So many things and all that. And that is the innovative ways to handle some business transactions, to do business and to bring about productivities and efficiency in our job our job environment. So thank you so much. I appreciate every of your response to the questions. I think is well understood, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Is there any other question or comment?
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Essen. Thank you, Prof, for your comments. And thank you, Mr. Joseph, for your questions. I believe we really enjoyed the session today. So, quickly, the attendance has been dropped on the comments section. Kindly ensure that you fill your attendance because we'll be sharing the slides. I believe Mr. Estin will be sharing the slides with us, and we'll be sharing it with students that filled the survey. So ensure you fill out the survey, and we'll be sharing the slides and the recording of this session to you as well. So right about now, I will be inviting Mr. Matthias, the head of admissions, to speak with us on DGBS programs. Mr. Matthias, hope you are on the call.
Thank you very much for welcoming me, the moderator of today, and also the career service. I would begin by appreciating deeply the presenter of today in the person of Dr. Essien for this stirring conversation. You have really stimulated us, and I appreciate also the voices that contributed in terms of helping us to have a richer perspective of the conversations around innovation. Thank you, Doctor, for the presentation and for leading us today in this Agora. I wish to also thank the moderator for coordinating the activity of today. In a very special way, I thank our students who are on the call. Just to reiterate, this is part of the Business Leadership Excellence Program. The wisdom behind this is for us to be able to juggle our mental capacity, put ourselves in the right frame of mind and spirit before the commencement of the classwork. So it is important whether you are doing the diploma in data science or cybersecurity, corporate foundation program, the master in data science and AI, the MBA programs, PhD and DBA. You can agree with me that the conversation today is quite an interesting one and very engaging. So you are required to be part of these conversations from now down to March ending, when we shall be having the certification ceremony for it. So I encourage you, don't say that this is not aligned with my program. No, it is. This is an opportunity for us to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And one idea could be the game changer for you in your business or in your role in your organization. So I'm encouraging you. And for students who are yet on the, will I say, on the precipice of completing their admission process, please, we have no time. We are already closed in terms of recruiting, but we have a couple of people here and there who are yet to complete. If you are ready to be part of this learning journey, this is the moment for you. The best time is now. So I'm encouraging you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
All right. Sorry about that. That was an interference. So I'm encouraging everyone here, okay? We shall be having these activities. It is part of the training that comes with the program. And by next week, or tomorrow, sorry, we'll be having the Italian language classes. And we also invite you to be part of the class in the coming days. Thank you so much, the moderator. Thank you, our able speaker of today. And thank you, our students, for making out this wonderful time to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Okay. Very sorry, I actually come late. I actually come late. And what I want to say is that for the now, I'm not in the country for the now. So like over here, we're 10:04 in the morning, yeah. So what am I trying to say is that the time frame, or I don't know if you guys do the recording. So sometimes you guys actually like, put it in a group so that at my convenience time, or maybe when I'm free, I can, watch it. Although I actually love to be online directly so that I can, ask some questions, But for that, I don't think sometimes, because sometimes I'll be engaged with one or two things, or sometimes, I'll be sleeping. So I think that's the reason I say, okay, let me just see if there's any way you guys can like be recording the class and sometimes put it.
Okay. So kindly fill the attendance survey on the chat box. It has been posted again. You definitely get the recording and the slides of the session. And to every other person on the call, please let's do well to fill the attendance on the comment section. And of course, you get the recording and the slides of this session, but try to fill the survey. That is what we use to send the recording and the slides to you. All right, thank you so much, everyone on the call. Once again, thank you, Mr. Essien. But before we go, let's try to connect with each other on LinkedIn. Mr. Essien is on LinkedIn as Idongesit, the instructor Essien. Let's do well to connect with him. I'm also on LinkedIn as Chamaka Ajuruchi. Do well to send in your connection. And if you still have questions, you can still ask Mr. Essien. Mr. Gideon, you are raising your hands. Do you have any question?
Yes, the survey you're asking us to, because this is the time of the webinar that we have today is falls on the activities time, and then some of us could not join on time. I just joined just towards the tail end when the presenter was about rounding up, so there's no how I can be able to participate in the survey. So except if I watch the recording something. Except if I'm able to get the recording, I will watch it. Then I can be able to.
Yes, you get the okay.
Can we also take picture of the webinar?
All right. So please kindly fill the attendance survey. You would get the recording. And of course, please let's put on our cameras so that we can take a picture. Just make sure you are in a professional space or in a professional background.
So, technical guys, when you are done, you let us know so we can log out.
Done, sir. Done.
Done. Okay, thank you very much.
So when is the next class again? Hello?
Sorry, I didn't hear that, sir.
I said, when is the next class again?
Okay, we'll be having an Italian class on the 30th of this month, on Friday.
On the 30th, that is on Saturday.
On Friday.
On Friday, okay.
Yes, sir.
Same time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's say, okay, I'll see if I can attend.
All right, let's ensure to fill the survey, and of course, on behalf of the executive principal, would like to thank you for joining us and see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.